You guys says, hold on. Now you're good. Right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. Will we please stand for the pledge of allegiance, be led by First Selectman Moan. Oh, thank you for that. I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Nice job. The pledge. All right, roll call. Okay, from the city of Ansonia, American City.
Present.
Thank you. From the town of Beacon Falls, First Selectman Smith. I spoke with him earlier. He should be here soon. From the town of Bethlehem on the line, we have First Selectman Sorty.
Here.
Thank you. In the room, we have from the city of Bristol, Mayor Caggiano.
Here.
From the town of Cheshire on the line, we have Andrew Martelli.
Morning.
Morning. Thank you, sir. From the city of Derby, we're supposed to have Garzikan.
Here.
Oh, online. Okay, town of Middlebury, First Selectman St. John.
Here.
Is in the room. Thank you, sir. From the borough of Naugatuck, Mayor Hess
Here.
is on the line. Thank you. I believe First Selectman Temple was unable to make it today. From the town of Plymouth, Mayor Kilduff, you on the line? Joining right now. Okay, we'll mark him as present. Mayor Chatfield could not make it today from Prospect. From the town of Seymour, do we have First Selectwoman Dragonis? Okay. From the city of Shelton, Mayor Loretti? Not here, yeah. From the town of Southbury, First Selectman Manville. From the town of Thomaston, First Selectman Mom.
Present.
In the room, thank you. From the city of Waterbury, Mayor O'Leary. Here. He's here. From the town of Watertown, is Mark Ramo with us? From the town of Wolcott, Mayor Dunn.
Here.
In the room. From the town of Woodbury, First Selectman Perkinson.
Here.
And is online, thank you. Okay, and we're also going to get number two. Let me just double check on the quorum now. We have a quorum of the COG. We'll double check the MPO.
Mr. Chairman, Mayor Kilduff from Plymouth.
Thank you, sir. We got you coming in. Thank you.
You good?
Yep, we have a quorum vote, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, great. We have a quorum. Thank you. Item agenda 1C is public comment. Do we have anyone here from the public who would like to address the board? Anyone here from the public who would like to address the board?
We didn't get any virtual requests.
All right, perfect. Very nice. Thank you. We have a lot of people from the public here today, though. That's nice to see.
Mostly staff now.
Hi, staff.
Which is actually what we're gonna talk about on item 2.
Wow, are we gonna get a chance to meet them?
Yep.
Oh, good. Item agenda 2, NVCOG summer 2023 update.
So, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, I've asked the 3 new planning directors, staff directors to make a brief presentation on how we've implemented new org chart and budget that you approved in spring. Using the additional funds under RSG provided by the state of Connecticut, and we've made good, productive, and quick use of it, and have been able to hire some very excellent people. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to who are we going to first? Rich first. Rich Donovan.
Yes,
Hey,
good morning,
Rick.
everyone.
You
Thank
were
you.
with us before.
I've been here, yes.
All right, come on.
But I do have an update on our transportation planning department. So Mark will talk about this in just a bit, but as we approach TMA designation or Transportation Management Area designation, we have beefed up our program just a little bit for transportation planning. We want to make sure we're not only meeting the criteria of USDOT, but exceeding and exemplifying those requirements. And so we've added a few staff. You've all worked with Karen and Kevin, our transportation engineers. They will continue to work with the LOTSIP program and assist with specific requests. We're also adding additional tools so that they are in a better position to help with concept development, as well as small and even perhaps mid-size projects for each of your towns. And so they're happy to take requests to look at intersections, to look at safety issues, as well as to help develop concepts for future projects. On the planning side, we've added Joanna Rogalski, who has been here with NVCOG as a senior regional planner doing land use work for a while. She's joined our transportation team to focus on public transit. And so we'll be enhancing our capabilities around both planning for and advocating for public transit improvements across the region. And then we still have Elliot Wareham, who has been a transportation planner just about a year with us, has reduced to part-time while he receives his master's degree or attends a master's degree program with NYU. And he's going to continue working on active transportation planning for the region. We have Ayatayo Alale, who has been working on freight and safety planning efforts. And we'll be bringing in one additional transportation planner to help with some of the work that Elliot had been covering. As well as we have Jack de Oliveira, who has been doing some of our research and some of our federal legislation and compliance work, as well as working with Drew on legislative actions here for Connecticut. So it's a kind of a quick overview of what we have in the department right now. Really, the goal here has been to enhance our capabilities for what we can do for all of you. And so we look forward to providing some of those additional services with our expanded staff.
Thank you. Who's next?
Aaron?
Good morning.
Hey,
So
you've been here forever.
we want to keep you for a little longer too, by the way. So as you all know, the environmental planning team has been building capacity over the last several years. And we recently hired a second environmental planner, Thomas Doherty. This is his first COG meeting, so you can welcome him. So, this increased staffing over the past several years has allowed us to successfully pursue more project grant funding and to oversee those projects. We are now incorporating the brownfields program a little more directly into the environmental planning team. That'll allow us for more collaboration and support between the two. And we're about to advertise for a new environmental engineer project manager position to bring more technical expertise to the environment team. That'll enable us to do more environmental work in-house and oversee more complicated engineering related projects. So all of this increased capacity will enable NVCOG staff to provide more support to your municipalities. For instance, providing more direct assistance on regulatory compliance, like your MS4 permits. We'll be able to assist more with local projects, like implementing actions identified in your hazard mitigation plans. It'll allow us to investigate and develop regional programs or entities that can tackle large issues like municipal solid waste or stormwater compliance. And it'll let us tackle complex or difficult environmental issues that you all see as regional priorities, like the removal of Pennytown Dam. So we look forward to working with all of you more as we grow our capacity in our environmental planning team.
Excellent. Thank you.
Ethan?
Yes, thank you. I would like to first start by thanking the board for establishing the community planning division and supporting our growth. We have three wonderful new staff members who we're going to introduce during the community planning section, but quickly we have Phoebe, Molly, and Emily, but I'll let them introduce themselves a little bit further later. I was a municipal shared planner in my previous role here, so I know some of you well, but I don't know all of you very well yet. So I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. I'm SN and I'm your community planning director. I grew up in Oakville and Waterbury, take great pride in being a public servant. And as the chief elected officials who have interacted with me now, I have a lot of energy, I've got a lot of passion, and I've got a lot of moxie for the work that we do. For those who I haven't interacted yet, I look forward to interacting with you closely on future projects. The goals for community planning mirror a lot of the goals for our organization. We see three main areas in which we want to support you, your staff and your broader community. We're here to serve you. All of us are, but community planning really wants to support your staff and the work that they're doing. This includes technical assistance and capacity building on all things planning, zoning, land use, housing. If you, your staff, your commissions want to do a project, have initiative, a study, something that they want to handle that you can't put into the budget this year, might be unfeasible to do in future years, call me. We want to find a way to help you and your community and your staff get the work done that they want to do to think about the future. This could be short range efforts such as presenting on a specific topic like outrange dining, or providing information to your staff so that they can present to their communities. We've done that for short-term rentals or the definition of family in a zoning regulation. We're willing to come or we're willing to give your staff what they need so that they can assist your commissions. The second area we want to assist with is comprehensive long-range planning. We'll do this both on the regional and the local level, but our goal is always to ensure your community's voice is heard and it's represented in all the work that we do. This will include engaging with your staff and your decision makers on a variety of plans, initiatives, and studies, whether they're driven by your specific municipality or their regional effort that you will support in this space that we then take on in community planning. The final broad category we hope to assist with is state and federal statutory compliance. I'm a land use and housing planner by trade, and the state continues to implement unfunded mandates all the time on your already overburdened municipal staff. I know what it's like because I've been there. And so we want to help. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. Whether it be statewide programming such as aquifer protection or MS4, which is the way that environmental and community planning interact, they get it from the environmental standpoint. I want to be sure that you're not getting in trouble with the state. I want to help with compliance. I want to get all that done so we don't have to worry. We can be a leader. New state updates. We want to ensure that your community can achieve active compliance, but also have the most up-to-date information. We don't want stuff coming down the line where your community planner says, I didn't know I had to change my zoning regulations. We want to help support your staff so they do now. And so then along those lines, we also want to continue to advocate for you in instances where policy is not feasible to implement. I think we all have seen the state think that they're doing something good in value that's just not possible for your land use commission, for your local community. So we keep a close eye on what the legislature is doing in relation to Drew. And when we find things that aren't feasible, that don't make sense, we shake the cage a little bit from the inside. So we're always advocating in that way as well. So if you find something or there's an initiative that you don't think is going to be possible, I'm always willing to lend a ear and be another person yelling on the inside. So with all that, thank you so much again for building out our staff. We're really excited to support you. That's what we're here to do and ready to get going.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. Who's next?
We're ready to go into the agenda, Mr.
What
Chairman.
about the other people? We haven't made it.
Oh,
yeah,
we'll
your
introduce
team,
them.
yeah.
But yeah, introduce everyone now.
Hi, my name is Phoebe Poof. I'm a new community planner. I just started 3 days ago. I have my master's in public administration from UConn. I just graduated in May, so excited to hit the ground running and work with all of you.
Where are you from, Pete?
I'm from Norwich.
Norwich.
Yeah,
You commuting?
I live in West Hartford now.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Johnson. I'm from North Branford, Connecticut. I have a master's in environmental management and also one of the new community planners.
Nice to meet you. What's the place, that pizza place begins with a C down there?
Well, my uncle owns a pizza shop, Bob Pizza Pizza, so I'm kind of biased.
That's the only pizza shop.
Don't forget you North Branford.
I like that loyalty. Who's next?
Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Ritchie. I'm from the town of Shelton, so here in the Mountain Valley region.
We won't hold that against you.
I graduated this past May from UConn's Master's in Public Administration program. And I'm also one of the new community planners here, and I'm excited to work and support projects that make our region improve and be the best.
Thank you. Thanks, anyone? Okay.
Hi, I'm Tom Doherty. I live in Weathersfield, but I grew up in Woolgate and Waterbury, so I know the region pretty well. And I recently graduated from UConn with my master's in energy and environmental management.
Wow, that's awesome. Anybody else? So I've got a question for you, UConn people. Does the university know that you are all employed at NVCOG? Because there's a new director here in Waterbury named Dr. Fumiko Hafe, who is, I don't know, she's a force to be reckoned with. She came about a year ago and I've never seen anybody like her in my life. She would sure like to know about you three, so I'm gonna let her know. So we may be going along sometime soon.
Actually, if you work for us and you're a UConn grad, raise your hand.
Well, I guess we might be all going along. That's pretty cool. So how many is that in total? Raise your hands again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, you can.
I invested in UConn, is that?
Me too. I just want to take over the loans, right? All right, good stuff. Congratulations to everyone, and I think you'll find that, well, I hope you find that this is a pretty rewarding experience, and we're a little biased around here, but we have a very good COG here, and every town matters, and I think we try to make sure that all 19 towns have a voice in everything that we do, and we would try to make sure that we spread the programs around so everyone gets what they need. So some are more complicated than others, but I'm telling you, this is a good COG, and sometime many of you will know, but the work that was done just this year with Rick and Aaron and the gang on Kittytown is no small feat.
Stellar performance, Mayor.
Yeah, Mark Nielsen and others with the Greenway projects. This is probably the most proactive COG in the state and has been for some time. And Ricardo's work with the brownfields. I mean, it really is. You could learn a lot here if you want to. And if it wasn't for Mike, we wouldn't have any money. So we're happy about that. Mr. First Selectman.
We have had the distinct honor of working with both Christine and Tom on our food separation issue, and they've been extremely helpful. And we're in the process, I think, of making them honorary residents of Middlebury. They spend a lot of time coaching our people. Program's going well, but they've done a great job, and I want to commend them for that.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good to hear. All right, well, we'll keep moving. The other thing you'll find out is we move these Friday meetings pretty quickly. So, item agenda 3 is CNVMPO meeting. We have a request for TMA designation. Mark?
Good morning. Thank you. Just a quick update. As you may remember, it was probably last year, we had asked the MPO to endorse our efforts to be designated as a transportation management area under federal regulation. Regulations stipulate that urban areas of over 200,000 are designated as TMA. The Waterbury urban area is 199,713 people. Missed out by it's a little over 600. But anyhow, we think there's value in being designated as such, and we did request that designation from the U.S. Department of Transportation recently, and that process involved a letter from the MPO stating we'd like to be designated as such, but we needed the concurrence from the governor of the state, and that went very, very smoothly. We did request his office to submit a support letter, which he did. That was submitted in early August. So the paperwork is in. And it's with Federal Highway now. They're reviewing it, and we should have a final approval very soon. My reading of regulations state that it's not discretionary. If we make the request and the governor concurs, the secretary needs to appoint it. So we're looking forward to being designated as the TMA. I think it gives us a lot more standing and ability to select our own projects and, you know, really move our program forward. I just wanted to give you a quick update that that is, everything has been submitted and we're hoping to get the decision very soon.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Item agenda 3B, adoption of the resolution 2023-22 project numbers, and can we take them all together?
Yes, they can be one single resolution,
Okay,
one single
good.
motion.
Thank the Lord.
Yes, I think there's a couple that I would
Who
like
said
to speak about
resolution, Mayor?
briefly though.
We got a motion on the table to move the resolution. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, second, Mayor Dunn on the
Yeah.
discussion.
So if I can just run through a couple of these briefly. So the first project on the list, 151-340, is the second item added into the tip from the new mix planning study. These are the early action items that are being addressed here for the city before any long-term plan moves forward. The first item was an auxiliary lane up on 84 between exits 18 and 17. But this item is the removal of the exit 21 ramp from 84 eastbound. So that's the big loop that comes down right after you enter from 8 northbound and comes out into Meadow Street. And some of the analysis that's been done shows that the amount of space between the 8 entrance ramp, the 8 northbound entrance ramp and that exit are just too close together. It leads to, it causes additional delays. There's some safety issues with it, as well as maintaining that structure was going to be very expensive under the current mixed master rehab project. And so the department has requested to remove that ramp, redirect traffic that's going to Meadow Street in the west side of downtown to exit 22, and then down around past down Liberty Street and up Bank Street back to Meadow Street. The city's been involved with this. They agree that it makes sense given some of the engineering challenges with it. But I did want to highlight this one as we're starting to see some of these new mix items coming forward. And we'll be seeing more of these in the next couple of years. As that project goes, though, we do want to encourage everybody to keep an eye on the project overall, as well as these items that are getting added into the tip. The next project is moving the rehab of the South Street Bridge over Interstate 84 into a future year investment based on fiscal restraint. Project was going to cost a bit more than they had anticipated. The third project is an investment into the Time for Connecticut initiative proposed by the governor to increase speeds and reduce travel times between New Haven and Grand Central along the New Haven line. This $100 million investment will make a bunch of small improvements to bring average train speeds up closer to 90 miles per hour. Where they should have been a long time ago, but we're getting there. A project along the New Haven line, some of the station improvements, that is going to be removed out of the fiscal 24 year. It was able to be funded under a previous line item in the tip. Improvements in the vicinity of exit 14 along 84. This is adding an AC entry to this project and is increasing the federal cost estimate. There's a project here adding sidewalks and some safety improvements along Route 10 in Cheshire between the interchange with Route 70 and Route 68 and the high school. And then finally, the last one I want to bring some attention to is project 151-325. This is the CMAQ project here in Waterbury. Additional funds are being allocated out of the CMAQ program to cover that project. But I do want to highlight that in the package that you all received, there was an error in the numbers on the table. And that's the local share under the CMAQ funding code for construction in fiscal 2023. The local share should be 55 for a total project cost of $3,899,000. And so those are the amendments for today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Everybody happy? Okay. We have a motion, we have a second, we've got discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Thank you, nice job. Item agenda 4, NVCOG administrative items. A, approval of the minutes from the July 21st, 2023 CNVMPO NVCOG meeting.
Moved as presented.
Second. Any discussion, any questions, any clarifications, any issues? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Motion passes. D, adoption of resolution authorization for the executive director, Rick Dunn, to execute agreements for previously approved program applications. You wanna, what's that all about, Rick?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So each year in September, we approve a general resolution empowering me to execute paperwork for any project that you previously approved or endorsed. So we don't have to do a new resolution each time there's a document to be sent. But it's only for things you've already approved. And that's the only time we can use it.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Move approval.
Second. Discussion, all those in favor?
Powerful guy.
Item agenda 4C, financial report. There's the power guy, Michael.
Thank you. So first, I would like to apologize for not being able to send this out sooner and not having a July 31st report. But on a positive note, this is the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023 financial report. Keep in mind, it is unaudited, but I am projecting a generated surplus of $165,000. As you all know, you did adopt a balanced budget of $3 million. And though the funding came in just under that, we were able to reduce costs, the projected cost by about $165K. The biggest contributors to the surplus is we held off on any office renovations, improvements, and expansion. And Rick will actually end up going over some of that details in his executive director's report. In addition to that, we spent less on medical insurance than we projected.
We spent less on medical insurance.
Did we rebid it and get a better number, or do we have people not needing it that are on staff?
Yeah, it's more of like not needing it, lower elections. You didn't one versus your family.
Right, right.
But there was also a lower increase than we had anticipated in the budget.
Right.
The increase came through at a lower percentage.
That's always good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But yeah, and just so y'all are aware, just like every year, we will be expecting some financial statement adjustments as we work with the auditors and proceed through the audit. But that really just reflects on the presentation of the stated net position. But ultimately, it does lead to a significant increase in the fund balance, which would bring it to over $1 million.
So we have plenty of money for my Christmas party, right? Okay, that's gonna be some party.
2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Michael?
Oh, no, but I'm happy to answer any questions and, because anytime I give a report, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out after, if you look it over some more and want to inquire.
Okay, you guys okay?
Acceptance of the financial report.
Okay,
Second.
okay, discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, we good now to the next page, Rick?
Yep.
All right, director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have a couple of things. I'll start off with the good news because I don't want to start with the dreary stuff. October 5th, you all should have received save the date for the board dinner. So it's October 5th. You'll get an invitation by email from Patricia, which, by the way, I don't know if I introduced.
No.
Trish Bruner is.
Oh, we met Trish last time.
Yeah, she was at one of the meetings. I don't know if it was the last board meeting.
Oh, July already.
Yeah, but Trish is taking over Lauren's position. Lauren will be retiring on December 31st, but she has time to take, so she won't be here for most of that time.
Trish, you're from Shelton too, right?
Correct,
We won't hold that again.
but I live in Seymour now.
Well, we may hold that. Go ahead.
So anyway, Trish will be sending you all a proper invitation by Outlook to the board members. So it's October 5th. We'll have a socializing hour from 5 to 6 and then dinner at 6. It'll be at the Oriole. I went somewhere.
When did that come out? Say
Yeah, I say the date was.
I think
Last week.
Last week.
October 5th. Oh, maybe I did that.
I know.
They're on my office. I think they think I left already.
So that's the first item. That'll be the Christmas party the mayor was referring to that we haven't had for several years.
That'd give me a hell of a party.
That's the pre-Christmas party.
Yeah.
Then we gotta have a Christmas party.
I mean, 5 to 6.
No, that's the socializing.
Can we like go to 5 to 6:30 or 7, right?
Yeah. we'll do whatever.
All right. Just come and have a good time and make sure you have your Uber number.
So the issue with our landlord situation here, and our lease, there's just no good news here. I've been fighting a battle for months on end. The managing partner of the building actually shut off the air conditioning. We're lucky it's a cool day today. Air conditioning's been shut off in the front and hasn't been fixed in the rear for 8 years, but it shut off in the front about 3-4 weeks ago. And I thank staff who powered through with fans and other things. But the landlord told me that she has no intention of repairing it or fixing it. I don't know what to make of that, but it's a problem. Our attorneys have already been involved and sent formal letters. I think you guys, or at least the executive board at least was copied. But we have a range of issues here. All the windows leak. We've got damage on a lot of paperwork and windowsills, paint, bathrooms, with just a lot of long-standing issues that are not functioning well for us. We're also running out of space. I might have considered going downstairs and taking some additional space, but I really don't want to. So we'll be talking about this at the executive board meeting, which we are going to try and squeeze one in before the end of September if we can get dates and coordinate everyone. So that'll be one of the items of the discussion there. But I wanted to tell the whole board, not just the executive board, what we were dealing with here. I have not. I'm holding back this month's rent so far, and I have to discuss that with our attorney as well, what we're doing with regard to that.
Who's our attorney on this?
It's our general counsel, is Pullman County. Chris Russo is the attorney handling it.
That might cost us more than rent.
So
Some good taste.
they're our general counsel, and our environmental counsel. I know you.
Put Bill off over there.
So
So I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can here, but like I said, we will discuss it at the executive.
Rick, have you begun exploring other alternatives?
I prefer not to speak about that publicly in the context of our existing lease.
Okay.
so you can read between the lines. And even I can figure that out. So,
I'll reserve any comments to the executive session.
yeah, okay. So
So that's one thing I needed to bring to your attention. Obviously with staff, we are having space constraints. If any of you want to take a walk around, you'll see we have people set up in hallways right now, or multiple people in offices. We don't plan to do that for too long.
How long have we been here now, Rick?
We've been here now. Almost, it'll be 10 years next year.
That's quite a while, I know that, I just can't recall the time frame.
Yeah, when
It was
our
before you took over here.
when our renewal comes up in 24/4/25 or 2025, that'll be 10 years. So 9 years. As Michael also mentioned, we have some, things that we have not replaced in 10 years, like chairs and other things. So we're gonna be spending some money next year for replacement of equipment. We'll talk with the board about whether we take that out of the fund balance or not. But we need to start replacing some furniture. Desks are pretty good, but chairs are.
Should we find ourselves in a position where we need to move, is there any grant funding available to assist with additional expenses that might be incurred?
Not a formula grant that's available for such purpose, but technically, I guess RSG is eligible for those kinds of expenses, but we program most of it.
Yeah, I know that. So it'll be pretty much on the cod.
Yeah, I mean, it would be our our cost to move, I mean, looking at the fund balance, we can do it. We can, if it came to that, we could accomplish what we need to accomplish and still have a robust fund balance.
Yeah, it sounds like we're fairly healthy at this point in time, assuming the audit comes back and confirms, so.
Yeah, it's almost all unrestricted cash as well in the fund balance, almost all.
This is good. How many square feet do you need for operation?
So we've discovered, had the Kevin, one of our engineers, actually measured the space. So our lease says we have 7,000 square feet. We have about 5,100 square feet of usable space. 7,000 is probably the exterior measurement of the building limits. There's something above us. There's a room above us that we don't have access to. But that is, so it's about 5,100 usable square feet right now. We really need the 7,000 square feet. Depends on the space. You know, if it's an older building like this, there's just a lot of lost space.
Depends on how you're
You know,
configured, yeah.
if it's a more modern building, it generally, you'll get better use of the space.
We think we have a plan, we'll figure it out. Yeah. You know, the issue with the landlord is very complicated. There's two landlords, one's retired and not the healthiest person, one's incarcerated and will be for some time to come, so it's a little complicated to say the least, but, and this is not unique to the COG, every tenant in this building is in a very bad place, and, you know, there's plenty of good reasons why. You just heard the ones that impact this space, but it's no different for any other space in the building, so, but stay tuned.
And there's no likelihood whatsoever, you would know this better than anybody else, Mayor, of the property changing hands.
Complicated there. The guy incarcerated is holding everything up, so. It's just, excuse my language, it's a complete and total shit show. But there is. We like to think glass half full around here. And it is. All right.
So, we'll touch on that more when we have the executive board scheduled. And all members are invited to attend, executive board meetings. So the other thing I want to talk about was, what the LOTSIP program in the context of the TA program and, discretionary grants. This has been an issue, where we have had raised issues with the department about how we can use LOTSIP to better access additional federal funds. It's an ongoing discussion, and all of the COGs, all the MPOs are going to be involved in that larger discussion with the department over the next few months. We have some specific issues, one of Thomas in particular, where we've proposed a plan that we think makes sense. The department at first authorized it and then rejected it. And it basically, the position they've taken is doubling the cost on the hectares and towns from 450,000, 400,000 to almost $800,000. And it doesn't make sense. So we think we can reach a successful conclusion with the department on this over the next weeks and months. Hopefully we'll get this resolved. But there will be a larger discussion about how towns are able to match discretionary grant applications. You're eligible to apply directly to the feds. We're eligible to apply to the feds on your behalf. But if we don't have a match for a lot of these programs, we can't get anywhere. So that issue is ongoing. There's also, I just want to make you aware, last thing, the legislature mandated in the last session that ACIR undertake a study of MPOs for efficiency and what was the other word? Consistency. Thank you, Jerome.
ACIR.
Yeah.
Wow, we're really rising up to the top.
Yeah. So,
Chair that, by the way.
There are your questions, which is.
so, I just want to make you aware of it. Nothing changes the federal regulations that give this board, let's see. chief elected officials representing a supermajority, 75% of the population must vote in favor of any changes. That's where it starts. It doesn't start at the state level or the federal level. It starts with these boards. The mayor or chief elected official of the center city in each region existing must concur, and the chief elected official of the center city in each proposed region must concur. It's a long process. For those of us who've gone through it with the Greater Bridgeport Valley MPO into in the past, and that lack of a vote to approve letting the fourth Nautical Valley towns come up to the Waterbury MPO. That's why we're still split over that issue. And then the last thing, we'll talk about bylaws with the executive board, because we're at the point where nothing has changed with our alignment or misalignment with Greater Bridgeport Valley MPO and Waterbury MPO. We do not have separate MPO bylaws. And we've held off from adopting them or proposing them, but we really, it might be one of our classes is to put together the bylaw proposal for the MPO. So we'll start discussing that at the next executive board meeting, and that is all I have. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions? Thanks, you guys. Legislative update from Drew.
Okay, good morning. Just a few things to know, specifically about October 1. We've got a couple deadlines, a couple of programs being enacted, a couple of legislative items that are going to be hot button issues in 2 weeks. First and foremost, not a huge deal for a lot of our communities, but for some of them for sure, black bears, they're potentially dangerous animals. As most of you know, they passed a law where now if you feel threatened or you feel like a bear may enter your home where there's people inside, or even if you have a pet on a leash and you feel like the bear is going to come after your pet, you are allowed to use lethal force. So that is live October 1 as well. One other interesting with that is from farmers who are experiencing crop, livestock, or apiary damage caused by nuisance wildlife. And it doesn't have to be just bears, that can be fox, bobcat, coyote, are allowed to also use lethal force if non-lethal methods do not work. And also bans intentionally feeding said wildlife. So any dangerous animals, if you catch people within your community feeding them, that is problematic and obviously illegal now. EPR for tires also goes into effect October 1. The program, as most of you know, must provide free access to a collection system and ensure that discarded tires are resold or recycled. This will hopefully lead to drastic decrease in illegal dumping of tires in your municipalities. Automatic traffic enforcement. I know we have a couple of towns or interested in cities interested in moving forward with that. We're still waiting on some guidance from DOT, but that technically goes live October 1, and you're gonna, I think, see something. I think Pam said on a meeting we were on last week, Rich, that you're gonna see some guidance from DOT on where you can put those cameras, and they'll be providing review of each project, things like that. We are happy to assist with that through Rich and through transportation. DAS, this one I saw yesterday, DAS construction contractor pre-qualification. So for those of you that have school construction and things like that, contractors bidding on a contract for work for the state or municipality that is estimated to cost more than $1 million and is funded in whole or part by state funds must be pre-qualified. And that's effective October 1. It's increasing the requirement for pre-qualification for projects from 500,000 to $1 million. So I guess maybe that's a good thing that they're upping the number, but there is going to be this pre-qualification list that they must be on in order to perform that kind of work. Something I heard earlier at the CCM Legislative Committee meeting, obviously chaired by Mayor Dunn. It's also on your land use brief that's on the table that SN and her staff worked very hard on. So please, if you don't have a copy of that, you haven't looked at it digitally, please take a hard copy.
It was emailed to you.
If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I highly recommend it, and make sure your land use staff and commissioners have access to that as well. Under Public Act 23-142, an act concerning certain protections for group and family childcare homes, you as elected officials are responsible to report the OPMs by December 1, 2023, regarding your home childcare zoning regulations. This can simply be that you are in compliance with your new law, or must include a sworn statement with a timeline by which you expect your municipality to be in compliance. Essentially, the new law states that you may not prohibit home childcare facilities in residential zones and that the facilities can't be treated differently than single-family or multifamily residential properties. Our community planning team, led by SN, would be happy to assist you with this if you need assistance. Supposedly, you can expect correspondence from OPM in the very near future asking for this information. So I just wanted to give you some advance notice that that's coming down the pipe. And actually, SN, you have one more thing I believe you want to mention at this point.
And this was also sent to your land use staff, so they all have this as well. This is just a resource of all land use related changes that have to be made. We wanted to make something super simple for your planning staff so they could just check off that they're doing the things that have to be done. If it would be beneficial for us to draft a response to OPM that we could share with you all, we'd be more than happy to do that. So just let us know if that would be beneficial. And then if you go from the first page to the second, third page, what I wanted to briefly touch upon is that for municipalities who have not completed your affordable housing plan by October 1st, I have reached out to the municipalities that were kind of close to being done. I know Thomason, you guys just finished your plan as well. We'll get you finished your plan as well. But if you're not done with your plan, there's a new requirement that you have to consider accessibility of affordable housing units for individuals with an intellectual disability or other developmental disabilities. And so we proactively reached out to OPM because, again, another requirement added kind of later in the game. We wanted to know what's OPM looking for? What's the state looking for? So if you're not done with your affordable housing plan, but you're close, say it's 90% of the way drafted, you're just finishing those last pieces, you can add a paragraph for this round of your plan. You could say, hey, we're aware that a new update was added. We're going to consider it more deeply in future iterations. However, there are a few municipalities in our region that are including their affordable housing plan with their plan of conservation and development update. If you're not close to being done with your plan, you do have to engage with this consideration in a deeper way. But for those communities, I'll reach out individually. Both to the chief elected officials and the municipal staff will be able to provide technical and capacity assistance on what that means.
And let me thank you, Savannah, for helping our land use department get where they needed to be. I know they were looking for some assistance in that manner. You provided it. But once again, thank you for that.
I've got another 30 seconds. Okay, go ahead. I got a question. Go ahead. You got a question?
No, the EPR, can you go back to that, the tire?
Sure.
Right.
You said October 1st?
October 1, the program is enacted and most of the provisions are live. And I think it's not necessarily anything from a municipal perspective that you have to do. I'm sure it's going to be kind of the industry guiding what the first steps are, and the manufacturers are going to be responsible for whatever they're responsible. If you have a town fair in your town or something, hopefully they know about this law. I'm sure they do. Rick, do you have any insight?
No, I was gonna ask Christine.
I thought it was a few years, I thought, because it's.
I think they still have a year or two before the industry needs to submit their plans. They have stewardship plans they have to submit. So I think what's gonna end up being is if you have a transfer station, in a couple years, you're probably gonna have some space like where you collect mattresses or.
No, exactly. That's the question, because starting October 1st, we don't take the tires for free now.
Yeah, no, we don't have
to
the
charge.
infrastructure in place to do that yet.
I just want to be sure that that's not
Yes.
starting October 1st. I don't think it is.
No,
You
that
guys
part of
charge
it is
for
not
that
correct.
timing now, or you're going? Yeah, because we have to have somebody pick up the tires, so we charge exactly what the company that we go out to bid for. Car tire, $3, $4. Yeah, we charge for that, so we can pay it back. Now, the ones they dump on the side of the road, well, we have to pay. It's a big cost.
them to go to.
Yeah.
Space there.
No, but it's a big cost. No, we cover our costs for a resident bringing it
Through
back.
along those same lines on EPR. So as of October 1, it's going to be upon the distributors or those who sell tires.
Yeah.
And at some later date, we will have to accept them, but that's not yet implemented.
I'll get you a memo on this more specifically over I want to make sure I'm not telling tales out of school. And Jack and I put this together in the last couple of days. So I'll let you know exactly what's active October 1 and exactly what's your responsibility. The point is, I don't think you have a responsibility October 1. It's just that a lot of the provisions in terms of what they're putting on the industry are rolling out October.
Okay, so the next question would then be, no one recaps tires anymore, so that's not, you're not going to recycle them in that manner. Are there firms that are interested in taking the tires to recycle them? Do they exist in Connecticut? And is there any indication of would they be accepting them? at no cost to the communities, or is there gonna be a charge to the communities? How is all that taking out?
So great question, and as with any one of these EPR programs or any of these recycling programs, and Christine could probably speak better to it, and as can Aaron. Without a secondary market for some of these things, you can spin your wheels all you want, and we're gonna take this and it ends up in the ocean anyway.
Right.
So, to your point, there was a couple private, industry folks at the end of, the committee process here that were in front of, the environmental committee who talked about what some of the surrounding states are doing, particularly New York has some success, especially using rubberized asphalt. Now, I think at the moment, DOT does not look particularly favorably on that. That would be a huge use of it if and when they can, decide that it's gonna hold up. But then you're worried about runoff of some of that rubber into the waterways, and there's no really great solution. As you saw with Aaron Rodgers this week, no longer is it gonna be thrown on field turf. I don't think the way that it has been over the last 10, 20 years, that's no longer gonna be, I think, a viable use personally. So I think that's a big part of what we need to help do is guide private industry and try to find secondary markets for this stuff. Otherwise, we could have all the greatest ideas in the world for the environment. But if you know where for these things to go, and if nobody's making any money on them, unfortunately, the things are not gonna happen. So.
Yeah, my understanding is that most of them are gonna go to a tire burning plant in Maine. And it was also passed in that same law, which is a little bit of the environmental justice issue, that there can't be tire burning plants in Connecticut. So we, in one breath, acknowledge that it's not appropriate here, but we're sending them somewhere else. So.
Let's do that, don't we? Let's send our waste to Pennsylvania too. So.
We send all our MSW to Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
My son, our tires to Maine, we spread it around a little bit.
Give everybody.
Couldn't concur more.
Especially when I'm running for office.
Well, thank you for all those updates.
Thank you. Two more small ones. If you go.
Oh,
Please,
all right.
go again.
Got a little excited.
So next month, just as a heads up, we plan to discuss existing fair rep commissions. Right now, we have 5 member municipalities who are already required to have them. There was some legislation that had pretty good momentum early on in the session, but then they kept lowering the number of population number of who would be required to do this. And then I think it fizzled out. It was down to, I think, 3,000 people if you have a town. So we're talking about potentially maybe a regional option for some of the smaller towns. We'll get to you. SN's going to work on that specifically with her team, but I just wanted to give you a heads up because we'll be asking the existing town, the bigger cities and towns, how that's working for you now before we move forward with whatever we're going to do into this next session. And then finally, aside from the things we already spoke about in previous meetings, especially municipal solid waste, which I know we've talked a lot about, is there anything the board wants our legislative team to flag or keep an eye out for specifically? We have time before things really get rolling here, but if we can contact staff and legislators now, we'll have a better shot, I think, at getting ahead of things. Rick talked about the lot set thing. We hopefully don't have to go legislative with that. Hopefully just the department will make some changes, but anything that you guys want to flag for us to keep an eye out for?
Just every unfunded mandate.
Yeah. I'll put that in big bold.
And in terms of the MSW piece, we have talked about it here some time ago through trying to do it on a regional basis amongst our COG, so that is still remains, I think, a matter of interest for us to see if there's a viable path forward for that and of course, funding to assist.
Yeah, we're still waiting for word on we have an application still pending in deep for study of the regional waste authority concept for some of our or all of our towns. So we hope to hear back from deep sometime, so.
Next year or two.
Are you holding your breath? You'll be blue.
Okay.
Well, good job.
Thank you.
We did that, since we're on the subject. We did do that tour of that place out there on Murphy Road Murphy and what town was that town?
Berlin.
Yeah, that was, for those of you that didn't get there, I would advise you to get there.
Impressive.
We could put another one together. It was very impressive. And that company has been proactive. The state's got their own ideas, but every time they try to ram an MSW act or an EPR or organic food waste or, we fight it because they're just we all have different needs, right? So the smaller communities like Middlebury have done a really good job looking at ways to work with organic waste and things like that. For cities like Waterbury, it's completely different. And so we keep fighting it, and we've been successful. And Commissioner Dykes came up to us at a press conference days after the last session, whenever all the bills that she was looking for got killed. And we said that, you know, we had a very blunt conversation about it. You know, I told her, I said, look, if you would just sit down with us and we could have a real discussion about what's good for one municipality is going to be very expensive for another municipality. And she claims that, and I believe her, she was sincere, that she will do that. And I think that we should probably explore that. So Drew, when does the next session start?
The first week of February.
Yeah.
Can I
So-
just add real quick, at the beginning of next COG meeting, we will have a representative from DEEP's program here. I don't believe that it will be Katie Dykes, but it will be someone from DEEP specifically to talk about waste.
We hear that every year,
Okay.
and every year it fails. So I'm gonna finish what I was gonna say, if it's all right. So we hear from all those great people, and they're all beautiful, and they're all kind, and they're all passionate and compassionate. But every year, whatever we hear is not what ends up in a proposed legislative bill. What ends up in a proposed legislative bill is unfunded mandate, one after another after another. And when it gets to CCM, it gets killed. And that's gonna happen again, if that's the way we continue to do business, which is not good for the state or the cities and towns. This time, Commissioner Dykes claims that she's going to sit with us. Herself is gonna sit with us and talk about what's good for Bethlehem, what's good for Woodbury and Townsend. How does that impact Watertown? How does that impact Plymouth? How does that impact Waterbury? Because it's very different. And that's, you know, to say that they're gonna send people and we're gonna talk about it. I don't mean to sound negative because I'm not a negative person. I'm a realist. Is the same thing they've been doing for the last 9 years that I've been sitting here. This time, as I said to the commissioner, very politely, it will be no different because CCM will not support it. And it will be no different unless there's some real open and sincere dialogue. And look, all I can tell you is it was an emotional Commissioner Dykes at that press conference who was disappointed and disturbed that year after year, we haven't moved the dial. We want to move the dial. We just want to make sure it's good for all. So that's where I'm coming from with that. So it's great to have people from deep here. The decision maker is not the people, the decision maker is the commissioner. So
Through the chair, just to comment on that, and that's great, because that's exactly what we've been saying for years. Every time we go up there,
Years.
in that office, you know, okay, what can we do to help you? And you start, we put out a plan. Our 14 communities, our executive director from there, I think, should give that letter that we sent out the last 2 or 3 years, and our plan of what we're looking for, and what's working and not working for all. It's the city of Bristol, it's the little small town of Woolkit. Fits right into what you're saying. If she's gonna be at that table, that is awesome, because that's what needs to be done, and they have to listen, because that's the only way it's gonna work.
you know, last time out, just to give you an example, the last time out, they were, if y'all remember, they put in their bill that they were gonna charge municipalities who ship garbage out of state $5 a ton. Do you remember that?
Yep.
So listen, we ship garbage out of state because the state shut down Mara. We ship garbage out of state because when they shut down Mara, Covanta couldn't keep up with us.
Absolutely can't.
And our trucks were out there in the driveway for an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time. So when you got 25 garbage trucks on the road every day, that's a problem. And the $5 a ton going out of state the impact on the city of Waterbury was $780,000 annually unfunded. And honestly, they're penalizing us for their own issues. We were perfectly happy to send our garbage to Mira and to Cavanta for the trash to energy. They let that fail. And now they want the people to pay for it. And it's just not right. And that's what kills this stuff. It's just not fair. And at the end of the day, we don't want to send our garbage to Ohio or Pennsylvania. We don't want to send our tires to Maine. And I don't know who the governors are of Ohio and Pennsylvania, but I can't imagine that I would let somebody send their garbage to Connecticut if I was in their chair. But at the end of the day, it's a nightmare that was created by the state of Connecticut. And to pass it along to us is just wrong. And that's why these things don't get any traction. Not to mention that every time they come to a COG, they never talk about the $5 per ton surcharge. They never talk about the organic waste and how that's going to impact different municipalities, especially people like Waterbury who collect garbage. You know, the last time they said, well, you just need to add more trucks. That's great. But by adding more trucks, you're adding not $1 million, multiple millions of dollars. And that's the issue. So it's hard. Look, the small towns do a really good job. You know, Bethlehem, you know, they've got a compost thing going on up there. Perfect. St. John's got the thing going on out there with the organic food waste, other alternative. That's great. But they really need to recognize that. And I didn't look at it. That maybe now that time has elapsed between my conversation with the commissioner and now, maybe things have changed. Maybe they will, maybe they have a different strategy. But when it gets to the House and Senate leadership, they're all from big cities who deal with this. And that's what kills it every time. And it's not changing this session. You still got Senator Looney, you still got Speaker Ritter. So we'll see where it goes.
Maybe through the chair, if I could maybe make a recommendation, instead of having somebody from Beep come in next month, could you extend an invite to Commissioner Dykes, since you had that conversation with her? And I will just speak from my perspective, is that I was on a conference call, I don't know, months ago, and you were, and they asked for input. Apparently, the input wasn't good enough, but if we come together as a COG with some of the ideas that we have, and we're prepared next month to share that with her live, not on Zoom, have her come here. I think that could start a productive conversation.
I couldn't agree anymore. So, you want to get a hold of us and I'm sorry, what's your first name? Trish?
Trish.
Thanks, Trish. Sounded pretty good there, right? I remember that. You want to reach out and we'll see if we can't get a commitment from Commissioner to come to our next COG through my office, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Mayor, just just refreshing the whole mirror, the CRA, all that stuff. We had a discussion in depth here at our COG meeting. It's gotta be over 3 years ago when the flag went up to that mirror was going to be, they were gonna shut down, and that they had given us a date that was out 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, that date has since passed, and basically, we're in a worse place now than we've ever been. And we form groups here to look at options for deep, to look at and whatever. We just, nothing to reinforce what you've said. We just really haven't gone anywhere.
No, it's discouraging for us as leaders of cities and towns. And it's discouraging for the people at Deep because they keep getting smacked around in the last week of the legislative session. And what they had hoped to make some gains and strides dissipates because everybody's tired of hearing the same crap. And I hate to be so blunt about it. It's just that now that's where it's at. And that's honestly, if you were all in the parking lot where the press conference was, I said, do you want me to be honest with you or do you want me to be? She said, I want you to be honest with me. And I told her exactly what I just said here. I said, listen, people are frustrated on every level. And she claims that it's gonna be different this time. Which is the first time we've actually been that blunt and been that forthright. And at least with her directly. So we'll see. And she's still a commissioner, so I'm hoping that we can actually have some really good conversations. And, you know, if they want to tier these things, if they want to come up with different ideas and plans for volumes and versus the MSW versus recycles versus building construction materials versus mattresses versus tires. Yeah, we'd love to have that conversation. So let's,
If I may, just
Sure.
briefly, Mayor, I will simply state two things. And it's clearly obvious, sending our trash out of state is unsustainable and it's really unacceptable. We were a leader in that industry for a number of years. And one very defining point. Before the state of Connecticut got involved in dissolving MIRA and creating the issues that we now have, trash was $60 or roughly $60 a ton to get rid of, because we would regenerate electricity from it that would offset some of the cost of that operation. Now for just about everybody, it's over $100 a ton, and we're shipping it out of state. Need I say more? That what the state has done, it failed us in a big way, and they still don't really have any plan going forward. I'll say no more. Thank you.
and it's gonna take years.
And it
Even if they
is.
develop
It
a
is,
plan.
but there has to be a plan in place to really move forward on it. And it has to be a financially viable one for the communities.
I agree, and that's why I was actually pleasantly surprised and really felt good about leaving that recycle facility.
That was
because
impressive.
It was like, wow, this is really
It is very.
pretty amazing.
It was
But,
impressive.
you know, we'll see. All right, we better move on before we lose our mojo. All right, we have item agenda 6, NVCOG planning transportation update. Item agenda 5, sorry, I already crossed that off, sorry. Sorry, Drew. Personal, but emergency management, thank you.
So as you know, I've been
This
here-
happens to me on Fridays later in the meeting. I get a little, what's that?
Little
I
fuzzy.
sunset a little.
Looking forward to the weekend. So as you know, I've inherited emergency management from Joanna, who did a fantastic job. And in every meeting that I'm on, everybody says, "Oh, where's Joanna?" They all miss Joanna, and I miss Joanna too, because now this is my bailiwick. But I will just give you some updates on very quick things from a timeline perspective that are popping up. You got a letter, all of you, from Demus Deputy Commissioner Brenda Bergeron and State Emergency Management Director Will Turner. Encourage your participation in this year's 2023 Governor's Emergency Planning and Preparedness Initiative, which is like a statewide exercise. There's 2 of them, 2 dates, October 14th and October 18th. I believe it's a Wednesday and a Saturday. It's a great opportunity for municipal leaders to review existing plans and simulate implementation of those plans to respond to a simulated hazardous materials incident. So that is the 14th and the 18th of October. This year's REPT Field Day is scheduled for October 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Yale Bowl and Westfield Music Bowl. Make sure your emergency management folks know about that. And Community Emergency Response Team Train the Trainer classes will be held at the New Haven Fire School on Saturday, November 18th and Saturday, December 2nd. These sessions will last from 8 to 5. They're all day, and your emergency management director is going to be aware of that opportunity. And finally, September is FEMA Disaster Preparedness Month. And this year's theme is take control in 1, 2, 3. 1 being assess your needs, 2 being make a plan, and 3 engaging with your community. Good news and bad news. Bad news is that initial reports indicate that this will be a very active hurricane season. And it's important to note that we haven't seen a major storm here in a lot of years, and they're forecasting that if we were to really get like a a level 3 hurricane, that it would be devastating to the state. So unfortunately, that's the bad news. The good news is the specific storm that was going to maybe hit us this weekend looks like it's going to be offshore, and we're going to maybe see 25 to 35 mile per hour winds tomorrow morning, but that's about it. And I know John Field is online. I believe he has 1 or 2 things to add as well. If you want to.
Hey, John, you up? You there?
Yes, I'm here, sir. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, first First thing, just want to remind everyone, the local emergency operation plan, due date, is 1/1/24. And that, obviously you get EMPG funds for handing in that update and having your local emergency operation plan. There's $5,000 attached to that. So please get those in. And then the other thing I have is, to do with the schools. We just sent out a new template to them, so they can start to put together their new updated plans and get them to us for November 1st. That's the due date. And we also had some change in legislation in regards to our monitoring and collecting data regarding school drill logs. So we sent out a new template for that also, so that we can collect the appropriate data that we've been challenged to do. And the reason I bring those two up to you is because obviously you have to sign off on the school plans. So just making sure you guys see all this kind of stuff, okay? That's all I have, sir, pending any questions.
Thank you, John. We appreciate it. Anybody have any questions for John or?
I'm sorry, I missed the date. When is that layout plan done, John?
1/1/24. January 1st, 24.
Gotcha, thank
Through
you.
the chair, I just have one quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
On the
Mayor.
FEMA declaration for the towns, that we put through, any word on that, please?
So I'm going to give you the official word, Tom,
Oh,
that, it's,
Never mind. No.
yeah. So we did not meet the state threshold. So we were able to identify enough to get us through county thresholds, but we could not meet the state threshold. So we probably will not have any FEMA declaration for I think that was July 9/10 rainstorm. So
Yeah, okay.
official word will be coming out, Tommy, for that. So you pen seeing some official document come out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Anybody else? Thank you, John.
You're welcome, sir. Always a pleasure.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, sir. We should invite John to our Christmas party. John, you're invited to our Christmas party.
There it is.
October
Thank
5th.
you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Item agenda 6, NVCOG planning transportation update. 6A update US DOT discretionary grant applications. Mark.
Thank you. Just a quick update. We are applying or have applied for 3 US DOT grants. The first one is what's called the Protect Program. It's a long acronym that I won't never remember what it is, but it's really designed to look at resilience and hazards to transportation infrastructure throughout the region. This is an interesting application that we partnered with Northwest COG, Northeast COG, and Capital Region COG. So it's a 4-region application to look at the whole northern half of the state. And we're going to be focusing in on looking at the vulnerability of local streets, bridges, culverts. This is our opportunity to really look at the flooding potential of undersized culverts and bridges, and then identify corrective actions. And this program, this is a planning grant, but once we've completed the analysis of vulnerabilities, we'll be able to apply directly for construction funding. So this is our hope for actually improving some of the undersized culverts. And it ties in very nicely with the hazard mitigation plan we completed a couple of years ago. Like I said, we're working with the other 3 regions. The second one is the Reconnecting Communities. That's a planning grant that we're applying for that will look at the impact that New has had on our downtown areas up and down the corridor, specifically in Derby, Seymour, Naugatuck, Shelton, and Waterbury. We're going to work if we get the award for this grant, we'll be working closely with the department because they're looking at redoing the I-84 Route 8 interchange. And so we want to, coordinate our activities with what they're looking at. The third one is safe streets for all.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Sure.
So, just to be clear, on reconnecting communities, I believe Naugatuck is also submitting their own separate application for that program as well. Okay.
And we had talked with the borough directly, and our decision was to submit both applications. That way, if they don't get awarded, we can still do pretty much what they're looking at. If they do get awarded, we get awarded, we'll coordinate and complement each other's work. And then the third one is the Safe Streets for All. This is a effort that would look at safety throughout the region. What we want to do is two things. One, identify the safety problems throughout the region, and then identify specific implementable actions to correct safety throughout the region. So it's partly a planning study, but it's also to create an action plan, if you will, with priorities so that we can immediately start requesting funding to actually correct some of the safety hazards that we're looking at. We're hopeful for this one because last round, all the planning grants did get awarded. So we're hopeful that we have a good shot at the Safe Streets for All application. So just a quick update. There's a lot going on, and if we get awarded all three of these, we'll be very busy over the next few years. And happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for Mark? All good? All right. 6B. VMT reduction project prioritization. Rich.
Yes, so we're going to ask you to vote on something again here after all this time.
Hurry up, buddy, you're losing me.
No, so back in 2021, Governor Lamont signed Executive Order 21-3. One of the requirements within that executive order was that the DOT develop a strategy for reduction of VMT, set a goal, as well as select a list of prioritized projects to help achieve that goal. VMT is vehicle miles traveled. It's a measure of the total miles driven in personal vehicles across the state on both a daily and an annual basis. So they came back in early this year and released a short document laying out their strategy and setting a target of a 5% reduction in per capita daily miles driven over 2019 numbers by 2030. One of the things they've not done yet is complete a list of prioritized projects to achieve that. So we wanted to take the opportunity to review the projects we have identified already as a region, as well as strategies that align with the strategy they identified, and create a reference that we'll share with the department. We'll update regularly to ensure that our projects get, at least get on that list and hopefully get priority on that list. The report went out in the memo packet. We've had it public for several weeks looking for public input. We haven't received any at this point. And so we're looking for you to endorse that document with authorization for us to send it on to the department as the region's endorsed priorities here.
Okay. Meredith?
Motion?
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, opposed, abstained, motion passes. Okay. CTDLT vulnerable road user assessment. Rich.
Yes, so no action on this one, so it'll be quick. Part of IJA requires that every state's DOT develop a vulnerable road user assessment as part of their highway safety implementation plan. The first version is due on November 15th of this year, and so CONDOT's safety engineering unit is working on it. They are looking for feedback from our towns and cities on strategies you would like to see to help address the rise in pedestrian and cyclist fatalities. So we'll send additional information. There's a memo included in the packet with more about it. But anything you would like them to consider before that November 15th deadline, please let us know, or contact the safety engineering unit directly. It's Natasha Fatu and her team leading this project.
Okay, any questions on that? Beautiful. Guess what, guys? You're up.
All right, so thank you. Sharing just for the board's awareness that NVCOG will host a lunch and learn session on Thursday, September 28th from 12 to 1. Focus on promoting Americans with Disabilities Act compliance in our region. We're offering this opportunity in response to the town's request for more information when the CTDOT issued compliance assessments early in the spring this year. Under ADA, state and local governments, public entities or agencies are required to perform self-evaluations of their current facilities and develop transition plans to address deficiencies. Designing and constructing facilities for public use that are not accessible by people with disabilities constitutes discrimination and subjects the towns to potential lawsuits and may jeopardize access to federal funding programs. And of course, we know that our NVCOG municipalities want to avoid any of that and to be as inclusive as possible, right, gentlemen? So we're encouraging each of our towns to send at least one representative from your public works, engineering, planning, or even if you want your town attorneys possibly, so that they could be aware of this. We'll have the department discuss ADA compliance, having a coordinator, the transition plans, and some of the assistance they're having coming down the pipeline. We'll have the CT Training and Technical Assistance Center who will discuss services they provide to communities. And they'll even give an interactive demonstration of their compliance toolkit. So we'll have your guys and gals outside actually getting that on hands-on experience. And of course, you know, we're encouraging in-person attendance because we'll have handouts, we'll have that interactive portion, and we'll feed you. So just want to share that.
What's for lunch, Des?
We're gonna have probably, what is it, local gourmet. So we'll have some sandwiches, we'll have some greens, have some water and coffee and tea. So come on down, it's your local NVCOG.
All right, good. And,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's a locally small and woman-owned business in Middlebury and Southbury, so we're keeping it in the region.
Wow, cool. Yeah.
We're right on top of things.
Support your own. All
All
right,
right,
great, thank you. You know, Des, I was thinking maybe you could, yeah, from our side, would you, email Judy?
Sure.
Ask her to talk to me about that. We'll figure out who to send, okay?
So Middlebury actually does have 3 representatives signed up, but I can still send
They're
you.
very hungry. About free lunch. It's not free dinner to be. All right.
Big bus show.
Just let me, if you don't mind, email me or let me know who they are.
Okay.
Thanks, Des. Okay, you guys, we're moving on to something we've already touched upon, environmental planning. We have climate pollution reduction cost, climate reduction, forget it. Climate pollution reduction cost update, Christine O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As announced at our June board meeting, NVCOG continues to play a strong supporting role in these climate pollution reduction grants. NVCOG towns are, as you can see here, are split among 4 different MSAs, which will each have their own plan. These planning regions are Bridgeport MSA, New Haven MSA, Hartford MSA, and then the statewide plan. Memo has been included in your packets with updates since the last time we spoke, but I'll give you the high points. So all 3 MSAs in the state have had their work plans approved by EPA, so we're moving forward with that. We're shifting into the community engagement and plan writing phases. Next, NVCOG is right in the process, sort of right now, putting the signatures on paper to enter into a sub-award agreement with SCROG, our sister COG, which is running the New Haven MSA. As you can see, most of our towns in orange up there are covered in that planning area. We kicked off our outreach efforts last month with a stakeholder workshop that was very well attended. We had 30 representatives from nonprofits and towns and organizations across the region. NVCOG has also launched a landing page for this information. It's our website, nvcog.gov/CPRG, and it links out to all the other plans and sites that are available. And finally, I'll just mention that our next sort of big milestone would be the priority climate action plans, which are due in March of next year. So if you have any strategy or project that you would like to see embodied in that, please send me an email. I'll be happy to make sure it's incorporated. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Anybody have questions, comments? I think we're good for now. We'll get you back on the tree canopy stuff.
Sounds good.
All right, Thomas Doherty, the new guy, you wanna try to, talk more about MSW? Beat it to death?
Yeah, so again, I'm Tom Doherty, I'm the NVCOG's new environmental planner, supporting our waste reduction work. I just wanted to give a few updates on the trash reduction pilots happening in our region. Seymour has concluded their program with no plans to move forward. We would like to thank Seymour for their participation. And Sonia program is paused as municipal leadership evaluates the next steps. Woodbury and Middlebury's pilots are still in full swing. As for Middlebury, they launched their pilot program on July 1st, and we expect the first round of data to become available later this month. We'll have held 2 outreach events by the end of the month and are hosting a quantum compost giveaway for participants in October. Compost for the giveaway will be coming from food scraps that these pilots provide to show how organic subversion can be utilized. Woodbury continues to have outstanding results from their pilots with a 2% contamination rate and a 15% reduction of waste, as you can see on the table. We are currently planning stakeholder meetings with Woodbury and hopes to gather community feedback on planning for permanence. We also have good news for Middletown, the first SMM grantee that has reached their vote for permanence. Their city has voted to make their food waste diversion program permanent.
Any questions for Tom? Comments?
Just a comment, looking at it, it's interesting, maybe I'm reading too much into it, I want to make sure I'm not, but it looks like when it's a separate collection or drop off, you do a lot better than the co-collection. So that's a good thing that we can share with Commissioner Dykes, that when you try to ram something down people's throat, it doesn't work that well. When you make it a voluntary program, maybe it will work better. But again, their goals, if I'm not mistaken, were we could reduce up to 30 to 40% of our waste through this, and nobody's come close to that. Again, I'm
I'll
not
just
dismissing.
a little bit on that,
yeah.
because I think that's maybe not quite the full picture. So I think you're absolutely right that transfer stations, the drop-off programs are doing better. We're seeing that.
Okay.
The pilot itself was not intended to reduce waste by 30 or 40%. It's to model how you could with adding unit-based pricing. So we would definitely see that and more with unit-based pricing. For now, you know, in some of these communities, we're capturing 1 out of every 5, 1 out of every 4 pounds of food scraps that exist in the pilot area. None of these towns, with the exception of maybe, no, I think none of these towns have chosen to enforce this. So although Deep originally pictured these as ones where people would be enforcing it, with them being voluntary programs, whatever sort of estimates they might have had at the beginning, I don't think are
Good point.
necessarily valid anymore. But yeah, the drop-off programs are going great. We're seeing, because I think transfer stations, people think about their trash more. It doesn't disappear from the curb every week. So they're a little more mindful. So that's a great observation.
Thank you for the clarification. I agree with that. If you force people with pay to throw, that road will get better, because the pocketbook is going to speak a little bit. It may or may not, but I mean, it could potentially get better. All right.
You know, Christine, your passion for the subject is noticeable, and we're grateful for that. And I think one of the things I'd like to leave you with is I want you to know I was a garbage man. I used to ride on the back of a garbage truck when I was in college, collect garbage in Waterbury for 2 summers. It was the best job I ever had.
That was an experience, right?
Oh, it was awesome. Used to go to work at 3:30 in the morning and be done by 7. And then go to the next work. But in the city like Waterbury, right, which is completely different than many, especially these guys, the population is very diverse. So many people who come to Waterbury come from all over the world. Even like this 2023 was one of our biggest years, taking people from all over the world. Education lost here, right? So we actually have a full-time guy who, you know, Cyril, he's our magician.
He's phenomenal. Yeah.
And we hired this guy, who, by the way, is a Yale graduate, who made it his life's mission to improve recycling and MSW. But we hired him to go into every one of our schools and address every one of our grade levels. Because mom and dad and grandma and grandpa don't even know what recycling is, because in wherever country they came from, they don't do it, right? So it's a huge educational piece. And then, of course, to educate our people who have lived here for one, maybe two generations is not easy, because it's a cultural thing as well, right? So it's not easy to talk about, because people say, oh, you're picking on this one, you're not picking on anybody. They just don't know anything about it. So we have found that through Cyril, that the success of the program, starting age appropriate kindergarten, pre-K, we even have them go in and they make it fun to separate and use two separate containers, right? And, you know, these are the things that somehow get lost. Now, if we finally feel like we're making headway in the recycling, and over the last 10 years, we have seen the recycling go up dramatically and the MSW go down, which is what we're supposed to be doing, correct? Having said that, the food organic waste is a whole other plan of attack and a real challenge on the educational front, right? Because preschool kids and grammar school kids, for the most part, aren't really cooking and doing the things that maybe their older siblings and or their parents might be doing. So to separate food organic waste is just another issue, right? So one of the things I would just strongly recommend is you have to look at the communities individually, right? So what's good for Middlebury might really be good for Bethlehem, and it'll probably be good for Woodbury. And, you know, they've all done a really good job of this because they understand it and the impacts on the environment and the impact on the costs for cities and towns. You know, when these guys have their own dumps, it's a big deal to go to the dump on Saturday, right? They all go and hang out together, tell their wives they're at the dump for an hour and a half, and they're, you know, maybe having a cold beer at the neighborhood bar somewhere. But the truth is, where you have the trash pickup, and you alluded to it, the curbside pickup. You know, you throw the stuff in there and you never see it again. You don't worry about it. You don't care where it went, as long as your thing is empty when you get up in the morning after the garbage truck wakes you up and you bring it back in your garage, right? Or the bear knocks it over and gets it all over your lawn. But so I just would suggest, right, that you, like, we think about that, right? Because the food thing is pretty cool, no doubt, but it's, you know, for people who don't even speak our language, maybe till they're here for quite a while, you know, it's hard to reach that population, and that's a big population. And by the way, that population is probably the ones who are not separating even for the recycles, let alone thinking about the food. Just throwing it out there.
Sure, and I'd also like to point out that in Massachusetts, that 100 communities have adopted pay-as-you-throw. Some the size of Waterbury, some the size of Naugatuck, some the size of Bethlehem. We know that it gets tweaked for different municipalities, but we have empirical data proving that this does reduce waste. So definitely open to different tweaks, but I think the science is clear. And I'm not just passionate, you know, I have evidence to, you know, prove this stuff. I have my master's degree in environmental management. I wrote a thesis on, you know, waste to energy plants. So I'm proud to be here and speak to you all, and I appreciate it.
You should hang out with my daughter. She's just like you. Yeah, she really is. She's, I mean, you guys, I respect you. I mean, she just got her degree in environmental science and is moving on to another degree in environmental something. So anyways, it's all good. It's good stuff. It is complicated, but it's how you, on what you're saying is completely accurate and well received from what the town leaders and political people need to hear is how do we do it and how do we pay for it? And in a state that just keeps throwing unfunded mandates at us, we look at legislative sessions like, what's it gonna cost us now? Instead of saying, what can we do to improve our environment? Because that's just the culture that you're dealing with. It's probably not unique to Connecticut, by the way. And Massachusetts is more progressive than we are in many ways, dealing with environmental issues. Only because they don't keep kicking the can down the road over there, they kind of try to do it a little differently and more transparent, so hopefully
Thank you, sir.
that'll rub off. All right.
Checked out.
Off the environment.
You checked
Ran
out.
out the door. I don't know that.
This was good information, though.
Well, we didn't get to the tree canopy assessment.
I can give a quick update on that.
Thanks, Aaron.
If you'd like. We shared this a few meetings ago. We did receive two federal grants from USDA Forest Service. One to do a regional open space inventory. So basically to take our open space inventory GIS that we have and improve it and make it more detailed and get a better understanding of how land is protected or is not protected in our region. And the second grant was for a tree canopy assessment. We'll be using LiDAR data to characterize tree cover in the region to understand where there is tree cover, where there's not, especially in our inner cities where tree cover can make a really big difference for the health and safety of our residents. So both of those projects will be ongoing for about 2 years. And we look forward to reaching out to your staff to help us with that.
Great. Awesome. Any questions? All right. Ricardo. Our favorite subject.
Sorry, I have one more. This is gonna be the quickest one today. We're updating.
Sorry, trail project, sorry.
We are updating our Naugatuck River Greenway Trails Project Priorities document. We first developed it in 2015. We've been picking off those priorities that have been continually updated since then. We last updated it in 2021. So we're going through that process again. So I encourage any Naugatuck River Greenway CEO to work with your steering committee member to make sure that local priorities are included in that.
Thank you. Okay, Ricardo.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Who doesn't love redevelopment, right? So included in your packet, everyone will find a memo updating you all on the current status of all our active brownfield projects. So please review and reach out if you guys have any questions on that. What the cliff note of that is, they're all moving forward swiftly. So great news on that. But on all the projects, I just wanted to share with the board that we do have 2 of them that made tremendous progress within the last month. I'm happy to announce that the city of Waterbury has completed their 313 Mill Street project, former Nova Dye manufacturing site. On September 9th, the city did a ribbon cutting event where they opened up the new baseball park to the community. If you guys haven't seen the baseball park, please take a drive after this meeting. It's absolutely beautiful in a area that is well deserving. Another site is 6771 Minerva Street in Derby. I'm happy to announce that on September 5th, the site started their abatement activities on the building, and next week they will be demolishing the building with soil excavation taking place. So they're moving really fast now on that site, and vertical construction is anticipated to start sometime in October. So that's really good. In terms of our awards, NVCOG staff is currently working closely on closing out our assessment grant, which will be taking place on September 30th. As we close those out, we're already starting to think on the next funding round that EPA will be opening up in October. So if you have any projects that need assessment data, please reach out so we could include it in our solicitation. If we are awarded by EPA, those sites will take priority in our next open solicitation. We also wanted to share that we recently closed out our RLF solicitation round on the 8th of September. We received 7 applications, 4 of them for grants, 3 of them for loans. combined total grant requests are slightly over 1.2 million in requested amounts, and 2.8 million for loans. So the RLF board will be meeting October 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, and they will be taking these applications into consideration on that day. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Any questions, anyone? Take advantage. There. Eric Adriano knows that.
We're working on a few.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Ricardo. All right, item agenda A, community plan and community planning update, SN.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I often only present twice a year because I like to be behind the scenes, as Mayor Hess knows and Mayor Kilduff knows. My favorite place to be is in your municipalities, but I'm going to get better at presenting so I don't inundate you with information all at once. So I'll go as quick as I can, but I'll anchor us out on the staff side of things. So when we met last May, community planning had met with 9 of your land use departments, and as of today, we've met with 14. That map looked a lot sparser last time, but we have engaged with your staff. We hope to meet at least once or twice a year with your municipal staff, as we feel that relationship building is really that key point in establishing those reciprocal relationships. And we want to help your staff just as much, in my world, if not more, than when we're asking for them to adopt something or bring something to their commission. We want to really build that relationship out. We also continue to advance our mission of technical assistance and education outreach. We published our summer newsletter in August with help from the communications and community engagement team. It included information about our land use trainings, which I'll go into the next slide, a legislative land use brief, which you have here, the municipal best practice highlighting Naugatuck's business engagement efforts, which we will be tapping into your staff for one of those in each of our newsletters. We had a sustainability spotlight written by our very own Christine, an end visualization that highlights the work of our GIS and data team. And then we have an interview with our summer land use fellow, who unfortunately has left us, but was really instrumental in getting a lot of work done this summer. So that's kind of a great way. We now send them to you. I wasn't for a little bit, but you could see what everyone's doing in a different kind of way. Our assistance can also include those direct requests to your municipalities, as I touched upon earlier. So we've attended local land use commission meetings. We've assisted with 6 municipal affordable housing plans. We're helping 2 communities with aquifer protection compliance, which we'll talk about more in November. And we've begun to help the environmental team with MS4 regulatory compliance. So we help gather data, mapping, engagement. We'll review anything that you need or that your staff is working on. And then I'll save discussion of our regional projects for another meeting, because I know I've already talked your ears off today and we've been here for a bit. But as you can see, community planning is doing a lot of things. It was a lot of work for 2 people. We really appreciate the role that Joanna played in assisting us, but our goal moving forward is to really commit to what it means to support each of you, your staff, and your community. So we will work on regional projects. That's a goal and initiative of ours. But I want my planners waving to you on a Friday when they're hanging out with your planner and helping them get stuff done. I want them in front of your commissions. I want to continue to do that. But we also want to give your staff what they need so they can shine. That's really where we're happy behind the scenes, or we're happy taking a bullet. Whatever needs to get done, we'll do that. And then we can go to the next slide. As Rick knows, and you'll all get to know very well, my goal is always to have NVCOG be the best COG in the state, and any chance that we get to stand up on that podium, I want to put us there. And so we have the best land use commissioner training out of any municipality or any COG in the state. And we are getting attention for it. Other COGs are reaching out to us. All of our partners have expressed they're really excited about this commitment and that they think we've done the best job. So I'd really like to thank the city of Waterbury and the city of Vinsonia for hosting us for these events. So they are 2 full 4-hour land use training. Your commissioners have to be trained by January 1st, 2024. The last legislative session expanded the training requirements. So instead of every other year, it's every 4 years for how long your land use commission terms are. But in this instance, your commissioners get to go for free. This is meant to support you, you pay dues, your community shouldn't, again, to the unfunded mandate point. You shouldn't have to pay to train your commissioners. We can help support you with that. So all of our partners are state partners where we could get them. We have one that's coming up next week on Thursday, September 21st, 2023 at the Ansonia Senior Center. We're partnering with DEEP, the State Historic Preservation Office, CIRCA, and Partnership for Strong Communities. The training on Saturday, September 30th will be in Waterbury City Hall. They're both gonna be beautiful. I'm very excited. But that will be clear in the Litchfield Center for Housing Opportunity. We're nearing capacity. So we really, really would like in this last week, if you don't mind just putting out a push to your staff. We've shared it with your staff. We've sent formal correspondence to your land use commissions, but we really want to try to get as many commissioners as we can. And on that note, we want to train your commissioners, but we want to support, to the point I made earlier, also your broader community. So if you have someone in your community that's at every meeting or is always asking questions to your office, or you have someone you think could be good on your land use commissions, we have a free code that's community that will allow those members of your community that aren't on your commissions to come for free. You know, someone you think should be in there, we really encourage you share this with them. It'll help them understand what goes into being a commissioner. So we'll certify everyone. We're going to send it to your commissioners. My goal is to always make this as simple as I can for your staff. I can take any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, but I got it. So
Are land use commissioners typically paid by their municipality or are they volunteers?
They're volunteer.
And I'm just kind of curious about the hours, only because a lot of our commissioners have full-time jobs. Would we think about doing anything after hours sometime?
So the way that we're handling this, at least with our state partners, OPM has set, surprise, surprise, not really great boundaries around what they want. And so we definitely went really above bell on how we're providing this, just so that no state partner or our COG or you could say, hey, how do we know we were there? But what we're doing is we're recording the trainings and we're working with Rich and Desiree to ensure that what we're going to recommend to your commissions and your land use staff is that if you couldn't attend, you show the recording during your regularly scheduled meeting. So if you watch 2 hours one day, or you watch 1 hour in one meeting and you work your way through them, that's your certificate. You'll be able to say, here's our meeting minutes. Every commissioner that was there, we watched this video had these people in it, and that'll pass. But for the certificates that we provide that hopefully we'll have your signature and Rick's signature on them. We don't want you to have any questions about, was someone in that seat? Did someone really get that training?
Right.
But we are cognizant to make sure that we have an option for those who can't.
Yeah, I was just thinking
Yeah.
about it, that's all. I mean, a lot of our people unfortunately are in positions where if they take the day off, they don't get paid, or they have to use a vacation day, or you know what I'm trying to say. So I don't know, I just was thinking, or even a Saturday, but it's hard to get people on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to get people on Friday nights, and it's hard to get people on Thursday night.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get.
people.
It's hard to get them to the meetings.
Yeah,
Well, the other questions would.
drive them with food.
If it is like a planning and zoning commission members and all that, I know our employees will go just to update it and update them. But, and it's a great thing, just the timing of, because some of them change in, after the election. You know, so if they're getting this training now, that will be maybe new people
Municipal
coming in, so.
elections, yeah.
So possibly just to think about that, maybe doing like the January, February or something. That's a really good point.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do this again, on a continuing basis. Unfortunately, the way the legislature set up the requirements. For
I think it's great.
Certification, we didn't have a lot of choice. That's.
Good stuff. Good work.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions for us on any of that?
No.
Thank you. How about,
You got it. Motion for adjourn.
well, I was.
No, you got something else. You got something else.
I'm gonna go to other,
Okay.
but there is no other.
Okay, you can always decide.
Anybody have anything other? Anybody at all? Okay, Ed.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn, Mayor.
Second that. Discussion, so moved. Everybody enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
All right.
We almost had a record.
The
longest meeting.
Yeah.
We're close. How much more time? We can go back and